October in Rocky Mountain National Park can be one of the most incredible times of year to visit, or alternatively, it can be pretty miserable. October is usually divided quite clearly between the first half of the month and the second half of the month. While the first half of October is usually quintessential autumn with glistening aspen leaves and bugling elk, the second half of October is usually the start of winter. At the beginning of the month, the average high temperature in the lower parts of the park is a delightful 61 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low of about 35 degrees at night. By the end of October, the high temperature is about 48 degrees Fahrenheit, with evening temperatures around 28. But keep in mind that these are the temperatures for the lower portions of the national park. As you climb higher up the mountains, those temperatures rapidly drop, and at the top of the mountains, the high temperature may be below freezing for most of the month. In fact, if you drive up into the tundra during October, you're likely to encounter cold temperatures and high winds that get more extreme as the month progresses. Now, it's quite common for Rocky Mountain National Park to get snow in October. Most of that snow is going to fall up high in the mountains, giving them a wonderful powdered sugar look. But occasionally it will also snow in the lower elevations. Fortunately, most of the first snows in the lower elevations don't last very long. They typically melt out within a day or two. Now, probably the biggest change we have in terms of weather is that at some point around the middle of the month, the winter winds drop down from the high country, and these winds tend to change everything. They don't just blow, they howl down the mountains. They tend to be icy cold and powerful, ripping the leaves off of the trees and turning this world of vibrant color into a gray and barren landscape. Generally, once these winds arrive, they're here to stay for most of the winter. I've experienced a number of years where the most beautiful autumn day imaginable is followed by the arrival of those winds in the night. We awaken to cold, howling winds and a world without color. Now, every year is different, and we've even had a few years where the winter winds haven't turned up until November. But we've also had some years where those winds turned up much earlier than expected, bringing autumn to an abrupt end. Normally, this change happens around the 15th of October, but I have no idea what will happen this year. So what I recommend is to arrive in the early part of October and then be sure to savor every beautiful day that we have, knowing that those winter winds could arrive at any moment. Rocky Mountain National Park can be spectacularly beautiful during the autumn as the aspen trees show off their golden leaves. At the beginning of October, the aspen trees around Bear Lake are normally beginning to fade, but there should still be some good color just down the road from Bear Lake on the large hillside called the Bierstadt Moraine. Now, during the first week of October, you should find colorful aspen trees in Grand Lake, in Hollowell Park, Moraine Park, Beaver Meadows, and along Highway 7. Then around the second week of October, Horseshoe Park and the Endo Valley are typically at their peak. You'll also find some nice color in Estes Park during the second and third weeks of October. Now, in terms of wildlife, during the months of September and October, the elk are in their mating season, known as the rut. During this period, the large bull elk build a harem of females while sparring with rivals for dominance. You can hear their haunting bugles echoing through the valley. Now, the elk are most active just after sunrise and before sunset each day, and they can be found in the major meadows of the park, such as Moraine Park, Beaver Meadows, Horseshoe Park, and the Cowanachie Valley. You can also find them wandering the streets of Estes Park and hanging out in the golf courses. Now, the meadows in the park are closed during these times, and so you'll want to stay on the edges of those meadows. Bring binoculars, a camera with a long zoom lens, and warm clothing. Some people even bring camp chairs to sit and enjoy the show. Just be aware that if the elk get within 2 bus lengths, you should get up and move, as the bulls can be very dangerous. In fact, every year people get badly injured because they got too close to these animals. Remember, stay at least 2 bus lengths away. Now, the elk rut will be most active during the first half of October, and then as it gets later in the month, it begins to slow down. Generally, by the end of October, the elk go back to peacefully grazing in the meadows. Now, the first half of October is a great time for hiking and other outdoor activities. It's a wonderful time to hit the trail and even to climb some peaks, since we generally don't have many thunderstorms at this time of year. Be aware, though, that you may start to encounter snow at the higher elevations. Now, the first half of October is also great for horseback riding, fishing, rock climbing, and all of the other wonderful activities that Rocky has to offer. During the second half of the month, if the weather behaves as normal, then I recommend enjoying a good book in front of a fire. The high winds and cold temperatures can make most outdoor activities challenging, unless you are lucky and experience one of the rare years when the high winds are late in arriving. Now, if the winds are really howling and you still want to go hiking, be aware that you should stay out of the forest. While the forest may provide some protection from the wind, you will be in serious danger from falling trees. There are many dead trees in the forest, and when those winds pick up, many trees are blown over. In fact, I've been caught out there in unexpected winds and have seen trees falling around me. It's a very scary experience. We've also had numerous people killed here in Rocky by falling trees. So that's why I suggest staying inside by the fire with a good book on those days when the winds are really howling. Now, in terms of roads, Old Fall River Road will close for the winter at some point in early October. It's never quite clear when the National Park Service will close it, so if you want to drive this road, do it as soon as you arrive. Now, as soon as a closing date is announced, I'll put it on the news page of my website, RockyMountainNationalPark.com, so watch there for an announcement. Trail Ridge Road is normally kept open through about October 10th. If it snows during this time, the National Park Service will generally plow the road to keep it open, though it could take a day or two to get it plowed and safe to drive again. So, if you're traveling back and forth between Estes Park and Grand Lake during this time, be sure to keep a close eye on the weather. A snowstorm could easily shut the road down for a few hours or for a day or two. If that happens, you'll have to drive the long way around, which is about an extra 3 hours of driving. Now, after October 10th, Trail Ridge Road will close after the first significant snowfall. It then won't open again until late May. Now, the reason why it closes for the winter is because for most of the winter, the winds are ferocious up there. They make it impossible to keep the road plowed, as the winds simply blow that snow right back onto the road after a plow has gone by. Now, in terms of visitation, the first half of October is incredibly busy as everyone comes to enjoy the autumn colors and the elk rut. The weekends at this time of year are the busiest days of the entire year. If possible, avoid the weekends in early October as they can be insanely busy. Now, once we reach the middle of the month and the weather changes, so do the crowds. As you might expect, the second half of the month is much less busy. Now, if you happen to visit during one of those years where the winter winds delay their arrival, this can be a great time to come. Now, be aware that a timed entry permit is required to enter the park until sometime around the middle of the month. The ending dates for the timed entry system vary from year to year. For the ending dates for this year, and for more information on how the timed entry system works, be sure to check out the link that I posted in the show notes below. Now, when you come, be sure to stop by my gallery in Estes Park. We'd love to meet you. We also sell gorgeous prints of Rocky Mountain National Park, as well as my hiking guides, calendars, note cards, coffee table books, and more. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more of my videos with information about Rocky Mountain National Park or about my adventures in the park, then please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you out on the trail or in the next video. To help you prepare for your visit to Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website, RockyMountainNationalPark.com. For hiking guides, calendars, coffee table books, and more, visit RockyTrailPress.com. And when you arrive, be sure and stop by my gallery in downtown Estes Park. It's called Images of RMNP.